Hi, I'm Dr. Wisdom here with your Planning for Successful Co-Teaching Professional Development. It's all about how you can plan for success when teaching in this type of setting. So the first thing I want to go over is an agenda checkoff. So an agenda checkoff is something that you can use to help alleviate some of the anxiety students may have around being in class, anxious about what's coming next, if they're going to be successful. Just having a simple checkoff can alleviate a lot of those issues, as well as it can really help guide you as an educator, as a teacher in the room, your paraprofessional, your second teacher in the room, how you're going to be going about the lesson, what are the things that you guys want to accomplish in the day. So it's helpful to everyone to have an agenda either on your whiteboard or on a wall somewhere in your room, or you've given it to students on Schoology. It should be very specific as to the tasks that you plan to accomplish throughout the period, possibly putting some times next to them, and just make adjustments accordingly. So I wanted to model that for you here today. The first thing I want you to think about is how inclusive your classroom is, and how accessible it is to all students, right? So when we talk about that, we think about the way we have our classroom arranged. Is our classroom arranged for parallel teaching? Are we dividing the classroom into two, where the students you have one group facing the smartboard, the other group kind of facing the back? You've got two ways for students to learn. Those groups are varied. You have stations in your room, and how's that set up? Do you have students paired so that they're ready to have discussions with each other? Some of that student discourse going on. What's the arrangement of your room? As well as what do we have on the walls? What do we have and what are we conveying through the decorations that we put on the walls, right? Is it an inviting, warm, inclusive setting where students feel that they are welcomed and appreciated, and that their work is appreciated, admired? What kinds of things can we do around the room so that our room is visually appealing to students and others when entering the room? What types of media sources are we creating for students? Do we have videos that reteach assignments? Do we have things available for students to reinforce some of the activities or the big concepts that we wanted students to take away from our lessons? And then, of course, again, instructionally, what kinds of things are we doing to make sure that our students have what they need instructionally? Do we have an area in our rooms for students to access materials that they need on a regular basis so that they're not asking us for things like a pencil or paper or to sharpen their pencil? What kind of procedures have we put into place so that all students are aware of the expectations and procedures of the classroom? When we think about differentiation, a lot of times we think that this is just for students with IEPs, but that is not true. We have to consider the needs of everyone, our students with and without IEPs, and how those varying needs are all a part of what we do in our classroom. Everyone's going to have a different way of approaching things. So the one-size-fits-all approach to lesson planning is just not adequate in today's classroom. All right, so here's an example. Let me fix that a little bit so you can see it better. I love tacos, right? So I love the cheese about it. I love the lettuce, the tomato, the taco shell, the chicken sour cream. It's all making a very, very awesome loaded taco for me, right? So that's like my lesson plan. I come into school and I'm ready to teach about tacos, right? I spent all my time making the very best tacos for students. I got them hot and ready to go. And then I find out some things. I find out that one of my students is allergic to dairy. One of my students doesn't eat meat. Another whole group just they're not digging my tacos, okay? They're just not getting what I'm putting out or what I'm putting down, what I'm dishing, right? So what do I do to accommodate those things? We have to think about that. There are going to be different toppings for every student. Every student is not the same. So that's the same type of idea when you think about differentiation. So the goal is to eat taco, right? Remember to apply these 4 things. You have to get to know your students and the support that they need to meet the goals in your classroom. You have to remember that those goals are not connected to concept. Those goals are connected to concepts and not just the activities of your classroom. So make sure students are getting the big picture of what you're trying to have students know, and you're not keeping them so rigid that it's built in every single activity that students do not have any flexibility within to still reach that goal. Number 3, anticipate the variety and complexity of their needs. What do students need ahead of time? How am I making sure that I stay in the know about those things? What kinds of things are on the IEP? Am I using a flash IEP, a summary of the accommodations that students need? Check out their IEPs, make a summary. It's a really good practice to do that. So as whole teams, at schools, we might want to commit to creating flash IEPs. Let students choose how they want to learn something. Okay, so giving them more choice and voice, and not being so rigid in the way that students build their tacos is really important as well. Remember, when it comes to co-planning, you want to be flexible. So you want to have that frequent face-to-face macro planning time to work together, that's regularly on the schedule. You also, though, want to have that ongoing electronic connection. So be it email, text, you're also using some sort of Google document or a shared platform where you both can do some ongoing plans and make changes as necessary. Remember, everything is not going to go according to plan, so you want to have that on-the-spot fill-in strategies toolbox available when necessary during your lesson. Okay, so lesson planning time is sacred time. You want to have that time for only the lesson planning. So you, your co-teacher, possibly a paraprofessional. There are others who need to be involved in this process, right? So if it's just the 2 of you, great, but make sure that you're still giving your paraprofessionals some updates and the plan itself so that they know what they're going to be doing and when during your lessons, right? It's not a time when you guys get together to plan. It's not a time to complain about students and what so-and-so is doing or how this didn't go well or that didn't go well. That's not really a good time to do that. Maybe do that on your way walking to your car in the afternoon. Okay, but just leave your planning time for planning. Share your plans. So co-planning is great if you're using that time wisely and efficiently, right? So once you have your plans established, make sure you're sharing it with everyone who needs it. Make sure you're asking for input from your multilingual teachers if need be. Make sure you're asking your paraprofessional for their input. Sometimes paraprofessionals know things that we don't know about students. And make sure you're having that ongoing communication and dialogue with other people who can help to support your lesson plan. Your occupational therapist, your physical therapist, your speech pathologist. Make sure that you're sharing your plans and asking for the support that you need. Identifying those accommodations that you need and help to support the paraprofessionals as they're supporting you. They can only be as supportive as you help them to be. So make sure you're just sharing as much as possible and being very clear about the plan and the expectations. So right now we're going to go on a gallery walk. If we were in person, we would go on a gallery walk where or have you move up, where you're taking a look at a plan, identifying the aspects you think every lesson plan needs to be effective in order to be effective and why you think that those aspects are so important. So here is another strategy you can use, a gallery walk, or you can have students turn and talk or do small group work. Structured. Okay, you make sure you know exactly what you expect students to be doing during that time, and that you explicitly tell students and have it written so that they can actually refer to the directions when you are doing these activities and having students engage in this way. These are some ways that we can have our paraeducators involved in what we're doing. Paraeducators are instructional in nature. They know what they're doing. They've got the right tools and right stuff. If we help to facilitate that, paras can really, really bring a whole new level of instruction to the classroom. Let's use all of our people as assets in our room. Everyone hands-on and helping. No one should be sitting down. There's too much to do. And there's a lot of stuff that we can get done together. Together we can, right? Ongoing communication about your expectations, collaboration, invite your paraeducators to your next meeting, your next planning meeting. Model those routines and strategies so that the para is clear on what they need, and ask for questions. Have that ongoing communication. What questions do you have and how can I support you? So number one, okay, we need that focused agenda. Write down what it is you're going to have during your time together. What do you want to accomplish? List them. You can even put times beside it, just like you would a lesson plan. Then I want you to do the what, who, how, who approach. So ingredient number two, what are the standards of those big ideas that you want students to accomplish? Remember that your lesson plan is connected to concepts, not activities. Do students know what the big idea is, and what time frame are you giving each of those parts of the lesson, right? So what's the big standard, or how long will that lesson plan go on for? Is it a unit plan? Is it a day plan? Is it 2 days? How long? Kind of map that out on paper. How will we teach this lesson? So we're getting to the meat of the lesson. How are we going to teach it to make sure that we're universally making it universal for all students, right? Accessible for all. How do we make sure? What kinds of things are we putting into place to make sure that our taco is sufficient for everyone? What sorts of toppings are we generating on the outskirts of that plan according to students' needs? Who may need additional consideration is ingredient number 4, the who, right? So what do our students need for accommodations? Do we have that flash IEP right next to our lesson plan so we can reference it in order to create that plan? Okay, so think about that. Notice that these areas are also timed. All right, through efficient co-planning time, I want you to do this. Write it down. That is ingredient number 5. You are 42% more likely to achieve your goal if you write it down, all right? There are so many aspects of a lesson plan that we want to accomplish. Our warm-up, our connection before content, checks for understanding, closure, discourse. There's so many aspects of the lesson plan that it's important to write it down. You're more likely to achieve those things or to know what you need to do next time if you write it down. So I would encourage you to do that using some platform. Here's some other benefits of writing it down, right? So again, we're going to help our teachers and our students know what's coming next. So everybody's on the same page. We know we did this. We know we did that. We talked about this and we planned it ahead of time. We wrote it down. Okay, and those things that we don't get done in this lesson, we're going to transfer to our next lesson, right? All right, and then I have here for you IEP at a glance. So if you'd like to take a look at that document, you're going to make a copy of that document, and you can put in students' accommodations from their IEP. It's like a summary, so it's a template for you. Maybe you have another way of doing that. That's great, and I wish you would share it with me. Okay, and then a co-teacher's plan doc. I've shared this also several times, the IDT from Stetson for collaborative teachers. Inside of that, you're going to see some different aspects of the lesson, including the lesson's activities. And then at the bottom of the IDT form, it looks like this. Okay, so we've got some additional instructional decisions that we have to make. What kind of accommodations? Do we have that IEP at a glance next to us so that we can incorporate it into our IDT form, our plan form, right? whichever format you're deciding to use. Okay, at this point, I want you to think about some key takeaways, right? We're going to do a quick write, so I would establish an amount of time that students have or you have to write about something you think you could take away from this professional development or this lesson, right? And use the next time you're in a classroom. So quick write, 30 seconds or however time, whatever time you deem appropriate. And then as your partner, then you're going to turn and talk to a partner. As your partner is talking, you're going to use the opposite of side of the index card that you use to do your quick write to take any notes on what your partner said. And now you have ideas for yourself, ideas from a partner. And if for some reason you say the same thing, you can just elaborate or expand on the idea of your partner. So some of the things that you saw today were the agenda check off, connection before content. In real life, we would have done that. A timer, using a timer for structured activities, really important. Multiple means of representation. So having the lesson available to students, maybe they need an audio version. Maybe they need you to put on the captions on a video or a transcript from a video. Maybe they need their checkoff list in their hand. Maybe they need to see it on the board. Maybe they need to be a part of that process for checking it off. Okay, everybody's classroom is going to vary a little bit in the way that looks. Turning and talking to partners, a gallery walk, give one, get one. Those are some things that you can do, some practical strategies that you can incorporate into your classroom when you're lesson planning. If you have any questions, you know how to reach me. I am SHARRON, sharon.wisdom@apro.k12.de.us. Thank you for your time today. I look forward to your questions.